3-day balance reset, 10-min rebounder series, perfect for seniors. She stood at the edge of the mini trampoline, gripped tight on the rail, wondering if this was brave or foolish. Her daughter had left it in the garage with a sticky note that read, "Mom, just try." Like most of us over 60, she'd heard the warnings: fragile bones, easy falls, the slow erosion of independence. But what no one told her was how much fear weighs, how it sits in your chest when you reach for something on a high shelf or hesitate before stepping off a curb. She thought movement was supposed to get easier with time. Instead, it became something she negotiated with every morning. Her doctor had mentioned balance training during her last visit, casually, like it was optional. But the way he said it made her stomach drop. She knew what he wasn't saying, that one fall could change everything, that her freedom had an expiration date she couldn't see. So she stepped onto the rebounder, just barely, feet still anchored to certainty. What happened next wasn't dramatic. She didn't leap or spin. She just stood there, feeling the surface give slightly beneath her weight, and realized how long it had been since her body had to respond to anything unpredictable. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic found something most of us overlook. Balance isn't just physical, it's neurological. Every time your body adjusts to an unstable surface, your brain rewires itself, building new pathways between thought and movement. It's not about strength, it's about conversation between your mind and muscles. But she didn't know that yet. All she knew was that standing still on something soft felt harder than walking on concrete. Part of her wanted to step off and forget the whole thing. The first day, she set a timer for 10 minutes and told herself she'd just hold the rail and bounce gently. Not even bounce, just shift her weight side to side like she was testing ice. Her legs felt uncertain, like they'd forgotten how to catch her. She stopped twice to catch her breath, not from exhaustion, but from the strange vulnerability of it all. By minute 7, something unexpected happened. Her grip loosened. Not because she was confident, but because her body started answering questions she didn't know she'd asked. Her ankles adjusted without her thinking. Her core engaged without her forcing it. For the first time in years, she felt her body working with her, not against her. She thought about her grandson's soccer games, how she always sat in the bleachers because the grass felt too uneven. She thought about grocery bags left at the door because carrying them inside felt risky. All the tiny compromises that add up to a smaller life. Maybe she was chasing the wrong goal all along. Maybe it wasn't about being young again. It was about being present in the body she had now. Day 2 arrived with soreness she hadn't expected. Not pain, but awareness. Muscles along her shins, deep in her hips, the small stabilizers no gym machine ever touched. She almost skipped the session. But she remembered something her physical therapist once said: "Your body doesn't get weaker because you age. It gets weaker because you stop asking it to adapt." So she stepped back on. This time, she tried the exercises her daughter had printed out. Small knee lifts, weight shifts, gentle bounces with both feet. The rebounder absorbed the impact in a way solid ground never could, turning every movement into a negotiation instead of a demand. What surprised her most wasn't the physical challenge, it was how much concentration it required. She couldn't think about the bills or the appointment next week. She had to be here, in her body, responding moment to moment. Neuroscientists call this proprioceptive training, teaching your nervous system where your body is in space. For seniors, it's one of the most powerful tools against falls, more effective than traditional strength training alone because it rebuilds the sensory feedback loop that degrades with age. But science wasn't what kept her going. It was the quiet thrill of feeling capable again. By the end of the second session, she let go of the rail for 3 full seconds. Just stood there, centered, breathing. Her heart raced, not from fear, but from something that felt almost like joy. She laughed, realizing progress didn't always look like progress. Sometimes it looked like standing still and not falling. Then came the 3rd day, and doubt crept back in. She woke up stiff, the kind of stiffness that makes you question whether you're helping or hurting yourself. Her knees felt tight. Her confidence from yesterday seemed distant, like a story someone else had told her. Part of her still doubted it could work, this small, strange routine that felt nothing like the exercise she'd done in her 30s. But she tied her shoes anyway, because somewhere in the last 2 days she'd stopped asking if she could do it, and started asking what would happen if she kept trying. The 10 minutes felt longer that day. Her movements were smaller, more cautious. She kept the rail close, gave herself permission to rest, and that was okay. She was learning something more valuable than perfect form. She was learning to listen. Around minute 8, something shifted. Her body remembered the pattern from the day before. Her feet found their rhythm. The wobble smoothed into sway. She thought she was done, until that moment when her nervous system finally clicked into the new language she'd been teaching it. What surprised me most wasn't just how resistance bands improved my experience with balance training, but how everything started to feel different once I switched to the right method. I wasn't expecting such a clear change, and honestly, I tested it more than a few times before I figured out what really worked. The bands gave me something to hold during single-leg drills, creating gentle resistance that challenged my stability without overwhelming it. This isn't a promotion, just sharing real results that made a noticeable difference for me. I'll leave the link below if you want to explore what I mean. By the end of day 3, she stood in the center of the rebounder without holding anything, just for a breath. Then another. Her daughter walked into the garage and stopped, not saying anything, just watching. "I feel taller," she said, and she meant it. Not physically, but in the way she carried herself, in the space she allowed herself to take up. There's a moment in every transformation that no one talks about, the moment when you realize you're not the same person who started. Not because everything changed, but because one thing did, and it rewired how you see the rest. She started taking the stairs instead of the elevator, not to prove anything, but because her body no longer felt like a liability. She carried the groceries inside, all of them, in one trip. She stood in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, and realized she wasn't bracing against the counter anymore. Her feet were planted, her core engaged, her body a partner instead of a problem. Researchers at Stanford found something similar. When routine meets meaning, consistency finally sticks. It's not willpower that sustains change. It's the moment when effort becomes identity. She kept the 10-minute routine 5 days a week because it wasn't a chore anymore. It was a conversation, a daily practice of asking her body what it could do and being surprised by the answer. Some days were harder. Some days the balance felt elusive, the movements clumsy. But she'd learned that consistency isn't perfection, it's presence. Showing up even when it's not easy, especially when it's not easy. Her friends started asking what she was doing differently. She wasn't sure how to explain it. How do you tell someone that a piece of equipment the size of a coffee table gave you back a sense of safety you didn't realize you'd lost? She just smiled and said, "I'm practicing falling without falling." There was still one thing she couldn't explain: why it had taken her so long to start, why she'd spent years accommodating fear instead of challenging it. Maybe we all do that, in different ways. Build our lives around what we think we can't do, until the walls get so close we forget we built them ourselves. But walls can come down, one 10-minute session at a time. Somewhere between the failures and the quiet mornings, she found rhythm and peace. Not the peace of having arrived, but the peace of no longer being afraid to move. When her grandson invited her to walk to the park, she didn't hesitate. They took the long route through uneven grass and cracked sidewalks, and she felt every step beneath her like a small conversation her body knew how to have. He asked if she wanted to sit on the bench. She said no, not yet. She wanted to swing. She'd forgotten the feeling of suspension, of trusting your body to return to center. The swing rocked gently, and she felt the same adjustments she'd practiced on the rebounder, the micro-corrections, the core engagement, the quiet confidence of a nervous system that remembered how to respond. He laughed, and so did she, and for a moment age was just a number, not a limitation. What she didn't tell him was that every small choice of the stairs, the park, the swing, was connected to those mornings in the garage. That independence isn't preserved, it's practiced. That balance isn't something you have or don't have. It's something you rebuild, one intentional movement at a time. Sometimes we only understand strength when it's tested, and sometimes we only understand freedom when we fight to keep it. When she looked in the mirror again, it wasn't her reflection that had changed. It was what she believed about herself. She wasn't fragile. She was adapting. She wasn't declining. She was responding. and that made all the difference. She still uses the rebounder, still holds the rail on uncertain days, still gives herself permission to rest when her body asks. But she's not the woman who hesitated at the edge anymore. She's the woman who stepped on, who stayed, who built something quiet and powerful in the space between fear and action. Her daughter found her one morning mid-session, smiling at nothing in particular. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "That I'm not done yet," she said. "Not even close." And she meant it, not as defiance, but as truth, as a promise to herself that every day she could move, she would. Not perfectly, not without fear, but with intention, with presence, with the knowledge that her body still had stories to tell, and she was finally ready to listen. The 3 days became 3 weeks. The 3 weeks became a rhythm, and the rhythm became the foundation for a version of herself she'd almost given up on meeting. Tell us what part of this story resonated most, and where you're watching from. See you in the next video. Bye.